Welcome back, everyone, to CO Sports Talk. We're here with episode 4. A lot of NFL news went down last weekend. High school football was cleared to play in the state of California, which is very exciting news for me and Casey included. And we're also breaking down the top 10 wide receivers in the NFL and some NBA news. We're going to talk some hoops today. So let's get right into it. How are you doing, Casey?
I'm doing well today. I'm excited to get into this episode. Lots gone down, but mainly excited for our first topic today, which is California high school football is back. Governor Newsom lifted the ban the other day, and all high school football is scheduled to play in most counties at least. And for our counties, they are, and we're going to discuss it a little. So, WCal is the best conference around here. That's all Star Catholic Schools, Sarah, all them. And then there's also PAL and SVAL for Santa Clara and San Mateo County. So we're going to talk a little about that. Oliver, first, who's a dark horse team you have out of the SCVAL conference?
I mean, I got to go with my school, Palo Alto High School Vikings, man. I mean, you can never count us out. This might be a down year for us, but you never know. We have a good coach and Coach Nelson Gifford, who has led this program to winning seasons ever since he's been here. So you never know with Palo Alto. But there's also the obvious picks like Wilcox and Los Gatos. So it's kind of a three-headed race at this point. But Pally's definitely in the mix.
Yeah, that SCVAL this year is definitely three main teams, and it always sort of is recently, at least, Gatos, Palo Alto, and Wilcox. You know, Milpitas has kind of fell out of the picture. They were good a couple of years ago back when they had the Bracy twins. One of them is now at Notre Dame, the other one.
Or that was Vita Vea.
Yeah, Vita Vea, of course. We talked about him a couple episodes back. But yeah, so it's kind of a three-head team. But I think Wilcox will fall off a little bit. Some of their seniors graduated. You know, running back Paul Rosa is gone. And then for Gatos, they do have some young guys that are going to be good. So I think it's going to be between Palo Alto and Los Gatos. But for Pali, what they have that is really intriguing for them is a bright future. Their star quarterback, Danny Peters, only a junior. And their star running back, Josh Butler, is also only a junior.
Yeah, the thing that concerns me about Danny Peters is because of the COVID situation and how the sports are being scheduling, he has to kind of make a choice between baseball and football, and he's more of a baseball guy, so he might not even play this season.
Wow.
It is a little concerning, but he'll definitely be back for his senior year, and we'll see what he can do. But yeah, Josh Butler is also an amazing piece, and a lot of good juniors as well as some good seniors on the offensive line. So it could be a down year, but also could be a dark horse year for these Vikings.
Yeah, and if Palo Alto isn't good this year, I think next year they definitely will be in that sophomore class of some good linemen. Yoshi Lee, Colin Vosk at left tackle. So they got some good linemen. And moving on to PAL, that league is the San Mateo County's Division I league, and this league consists of the Giants, Menlo Atherton, who are always really good with all their big men and their QB play this year. QBs both scheduled to compete for the starting job, and Matt McLeod, who's only a junior, and Raymond Price, Sacred Heart Prep transfer. And then the Sacred Heart Prep Gators been probably getting sick of getting second place. They've got second in this division like 4 years in a row. So this year, Oliver, who do you like out of this division? Is it still MA holding their title as they have?
Yeah, it's probably still MA for me, but Sacred Heart's also a team that I can see surprising a lot of people this year. I mean, they'll always have a chance, but MA is definitely the powerhouse of that conference. So
yeah, they got. I mean, Troy Franklin is already at Oregon, so he will not be playing for MA even if the season happens, which it is scheduled to happen now. But they still have so many star players. Jalen Moss, only a junior, and then obviously the quarterback play I talked about. And for Sacred Heart, you know, they have Teddy Purcell, senior QB, one last ride for him. Although this is only a 6-game season, I think just great to get some tape out for all of these players in all these divisions. I mean, nothing like just getting some film, because I do feel for all these seniors getting their season cut short like this, but it will definitely be better than nothing. And then lastly, switching over to WCal, this is the big division. These teams, when they win, they go to open CCS. Last year, the Sarah Padres tied SI and Valley Christian. And this year, I do not see Valley Christian being the same as most of their seniors graduated, and I see the Sarah Padres winning this division, going undefeated pretty handily.
Yeah, I think Sarah is definitely the choice here. You saw them blow out MA last year. They're a powerhouse team, all boys school. Their focus is mostly on sports. So yeah, I think Sarah's gonna be good. Former school of Tom Brady, of course.
Very bomb.
Good for a while. And yeah, Sarah's definitely my pick. You as well?
Yeah, I agree with you. Sarah Padres, yeah, we saw them. It shows just the gap of the divisions. They crushed MA over at Levi Stadium last year, and MA's an amazing team too. So I do think Sarah will win this division. So there you go. High school football coming back, everybody. We're really excited for it. A little bit of a 6-game season, but better than nothing, as we said, and it should be back coming in March and April.
Yeah, on that note, let's get into our first bit of NFL news. So we got news that Carson Wentz, second overall pick in 2016, was traded to the Indianapolis Colts for a third rounder and conditional second rounders that could turn into first rounders down the line, which is some weird draft thing.
Yeah.
But let's start it off with who won this trade, the Colts or the Eagles?
I definitely think that the Indianapolis Colts won this trade. However, it's not as big of a margin as it was for that Stafford Goff trade. I do think there's some value that the Eagles had because it's overall just better maybe to move on from Carson. You know, they've had their ups and downs with him. You know, 2017, he was an MVP candidate. And then last year, obviously, was not that good. So, but I think this is a great move for Indianapolis. I mean, they're bringing in Carson Wentz, who is a player that is really rare. I mean, there's not many players that play like Carson Wentz. He is mobile. And the thing about Carson is he's the most similar player to him is Josh Allen because he's fast, mobile, and just has a gunslinger of an arm. So if Carson Wentz can get it going, I think he will be really successful down in Indianapolis with an amazing offensive line with all those cats there with like Quentin Nelson leading the way and just get a tad bit better of a wide receiver core and have a good defense. I think this Colts team can be a playoff team and they're in win now, as you said a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, Colts is definitely probably a wide receiver away and maybe a tight end, but Jack Doyle is pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I would have to 100% agree with you with that the Colts won this trade. You got a rare talent in Carson Wentz. Like you said, we don't see many of his kind. He just hasn't been able to showcase it the last few years. I remember he was an MVP candidate in 2017 along with Tom Brady. Tom Brady ended up winning because of Carson Wentz's injury. And I think if Carson Wentz didn't get injured later in that season, he probably would have won MVP. Obviously, the Eagles went on to win that Super Bowl with Nick Foles leading the way, so it didn't end up mattering in the end. But the Colts got a great quarterback talent that is just some coaching and some wide receivers and weapons away from being a really good player in this league.
Yeah.
A lot of people need to cut him some slack. The situation in Philly was not great. He didn't play up to standards, but I don't blame him. He's still a great player in my eyes. So I think
they got Jonathan Taylor, one of the most young and upcoming running backs in the league right now. I mean, it's a great situation. I would be super excited if I was Carson.
Super young defense as well. Darius Leonard, Malik Hooker, Julian Blackman played great last year. I mean, you got Kenny Moore in that secondary. It's a really good team. Bobby Okereke who came out of Stanford a few years ago.
And you got Alfred Buckner, of course. So
yeah, obviously that defensive line's great too. So I really like this Colts team. I can see them go far in the AFC. I said that a few weeks ago, and I think that's their chances have even improved even more with Carson Wentz now.
Yeah, and then this year without Wentz and with Rivers, who was great. You know, he retired, but he was a great player. They gave the Bills a run for their money. I mean, in Buffalo, they almost beat that Bills team. If Rodrigo Blankenship didn't hit the crossbar, they could have won that game. So they were still excellent this year, and I think they will improve. And I think they're going to win a couple of playoff games next year. See how far they go.
Yeah, I mean, it was up to a fourth down conversion from Michael Pittman. It didn't go that way. That could have been changed the game. But on the other side of this trade, I mean, it's the Eagles. We got to talk about them a little bit. They just lost their what was thought to be their franchise quarterback. Yeah. So what is their future at quarterback, and what does it look like?
So we obviously have Jalen Hurts, who's the Oklahoma guy, drafted second in the second round last year, and he was pretty productive for them when he played last year. He did struggle at the end of the season, which is worrisome. Kind of fell back down to earth, but his debut was amazing. His second game against Arizona was solid, even though they lost that. So Hurt is definitely an option for the Eagles. And then there's also their 7th overall pick or 6th overall pick. I believe it is 7th. So what they will do there is a very questionable decision right now. So they can either go draft a receiver to give Hurd some weapons. They can take Jamar Chase or something, help because their receiver core obviously is not amazing. Or they can also go with the cornerback. Obviously, if Surtain's available, can take him. and go like Micah Parsons. And then there's a question, take QB to compete with Jalen. I mean, there's so many guys that should be available there. This is one of the best quarterback classes we've ever had. Yeah. So obviously Lawrence will not be there and probably Wilson won't be there, but I could see Fields even being there, Trey Lance, and then you can obviously take a swing on Mac Jones. So it's a huge draft for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I think you kind of just got to stick with Jalen Hurts until he proves that he's not capable of being a good quarterback in this league. I think you really got to give him a chance in a full season. Right. And yeah, you were right initially. It's the 6th pick, and I think they would definitely should take a receiver, surround Jalen Hurts with as much talent as you possibly can, because yeah, he's raw. He's a raw talent. He's not going to be great right away. He needs to develop. So yeah, I think that should be the plan with the Eagles, and that kind of start over. It's kind of crazy that this team that just won 4 games was a Super Bowl winner like 3 years ago. So quick turnaround for the Eagles, and we'll see where they go from here.
Yes, so the future can be bright for both of these teams, and we will see what will happen next year in the next NFL season with these changes. All right, so now moving on to our top 10 wide receiver list. Top 10 wide receivers in the NFL here. And this was a tough list to break down, at least for me. I mean, there were so many guys qualified. Even just to put on the honorable mention list, that was tough.
Yeah, so let's get right into the honorable mentions. So first off, we got my honorable mentions. Got Chris Godwin, Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin, Kenny Golladay, Tyler Lockett, Amari Cooper, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown. A lot of honorable mentions because you have to think, unlike quarterback, there's not just 32 starting wide receivers.
Right.
There's 96. So there's a lot of honorable mentions. There's a lot of people to consider. But yeah, someone stands out here is Justin Jefferson because of his rookie year just had, but I just can't put him above anyone else right now. But if he does, has a season like that again, I think he's definitely a top 10 receiver. So let's go into your honorable mentions.
Yeah, for my honorable mentions, I have Allen Robinson of the Chicago Bears, who's a free agent, Calvin Ridley, the route runner, Terry McLaurin, Brandon Cooks, Tyler Lockett, Amari Cooper, Adam Thielen, Robert Woods, and then had to give a shout out to the duo from Carolina, Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. You know, they deserve a shout out. But who sticks out to me here is obviously A-Rob, Allen Robinson. I couldn't quite put him in the top 10. And, you know, I know the Bears fans will hate me and most NFL fans because he is very underrated. And that's why I have him literally at 11. I mean, he is an extremely underrated player. I do agree with you on that. Great route runner, extreme speed, great hands. But he has not been amazingly productive the last couple of years, and I know that has to do with quarterback play. I can see him coming in the top 10 if he has a great season next year, though.
Yeah.
And then another guy that stood out to me was Brandon Cooks. Very underrated. He's quietly was an amazing player last year on the Houston Texans, Deshaun Watson, and was great with the Rams and the Saints. And then Adam Thielen, of course, another great season for him.
Yeah, Brandon Cooks definitely a good deep threat for that Texans team. All right, my 10, Mr. DK Metcalf. I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. One of the most overrated players in my eyes, but he's still a top 10 wide receiver. So it doesn't mean he's not good. He's a great player, but I just don't see the consistency on a dated week-to-week basis. Has struggled with drops, route running, but you have to let me just look at him. He has an insane frame. He's elite speed. He's an absolute specimen of an athlete. So obviously that helps him out a little bit. Just needs to polish up some of his skills as a wide receiver, but obviously still a great player. So I'm at number 10.
Yeah, for me at 10, you know, I have a tie here between the young blood, Justin Jefferson, and then Keenan Allen, who's quietly put up 6 amazing seasons of production for the Chargers. But what mainly had them at ties, Justin Jefferson deserves a nod at 10. I mean, for our wide receiver, for our running back list, I had the young running backs, Jonathan Taylor and James Robinson at 10.
Yeah.
And then for QBs, I had Justin Herbert at 10. So I like to put the rookies that were amazing last year at 10, and then that's their ceiling, and they can improve for the next couple of seasons. And then Keenan Allen, he's been amazing. Keenan Allen this year, 992 yards, and that was actually a little bit of a downgrade from the last couple of years, but he is definitely a top 10 receiver in my eyes. And he was doing this with Rivers and Herbert, and with a bright QB like Herbert, he's just going to improve. And he seems to age like fine wine at this point. I mean, Keenan Allen's getting up there. He's in the 30s now, and he's still producing at a great level every single season. And then for Justin Jefferson, what a season. He had 1,400 yards, 7 touchdowns. 20 plus catches. He had a great season for the Vikings, and he will most definitely improve here. So I like them at a tie here.
Yep, I agree with that. Number 9, you just mentioned him, Keenan Allen, been so underrated his whole career. Like you said, top 3 route runner in my eyes. Always finds a way to get open. I'll get to the next 2 later on in the list. But yeah, after the catch, he's elite. He can break tackles. Doesn't have the most flashy speed, but that's not what you see Keenan Allen for. He gets open. He has good hands. He's a safety blanket. And yeah, so Keenan Allen, number 9, still so underrated and undoubtedly a top 10 wide receiver in my eyes.
Absolutely. So for my 9, I have Mike Evans, the newly Super Bowl champ from Tampa Bay. And Evans, similar to Keenan Allen, a little bit younger, but he has put up an amazing, quiet, great seasons. Every single season of his career for him has been productive. I mean, Mike Evans was doing this with Jameis Winston for the longest time, and then this year he really was able to get some attention because he was doing this under Tom Brady and a Super Bowl champion team. But Mike Evans deserves this credit. He's a top 10 receiver all day. And what makes him really special is his height. He's the tallest receiver most definitely on this list. And he's able to use his height to get these 50-50 balls all the time. And although he only had 1 catch in the Super Bowl, he definitely is a threat down the field and really everywhere for a corner. He's a wide receiver 1 that you want. And him on the Bucs with Chris Godwin and then a nice slot receiver like Scotty Miller is a great receiving core for the Bucs.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 8, I also got Mike Evans. So, yeah, like you said, great jump ball receiver. He's going to win the 50-50 balls. And yeah, after the catch, he's also good. But yeah, what he's known for is just going up, big physical guy out of Texas A&M. He played with Johnny Manziel. Yeah, so he's been playing with bad quarterback play his whole career. Got Tom Brady. We see what he's capable of. But yeah, he put up great numbers even with Jameis Winston and his inconsistent play, I'll say. But yeah, Mike Evans at 8 for me. So just 1 spot ahead of you.
At my number 8, I have A.J. Brown. I mean, was only played in the NFL now for 2 seasons, but man, he has been so impressive to me. And he deserves every single part of this list, in my opinion. I mean, you had him in an honorable mention, and that's fine, giving him the credit there. But he's overshadowed by DK just because he went to the exact same college, was drafted in the exact same year, same high school class as DK Metcalf. But most years, this guy would be the best receiver in his draft class. He was so productive, over 1,000 yards both seasons for him. Pro Bowler this year for A.J. Brown. And he's wide receiver 1 for this Tennessee Titans team. Him and Corey Brown, great little duo there. Although Corey Brown, he was the 4th overall pick, so he's going to be considered a little bit overrated. They are a great receiving duo. And I think A.J. Brown is definitely a top 10 receiver in this league right now. And I would take him over a lot of these receivers, even below him, just because his age is so young and so much potential.
Yeah, I think this draft class also had Terry McLaurin. That's insane. 3, borderline top 10 players. I mean, wide receivers in the league. And yeah, he's definitely been in DK's shadow. I mean, even that combine pick of DK with his shirt off.
Right.
Most people crop A.J. Brown out of that photo, even though he's in it. He looks almost as insane as DK in that pick. So.
Yeah. And the talk show is Terry McLaurin versus DK. I think it's A.J. Brown's number 2 over Terry. But that may change when Terry gets a better quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. Number 7, I had who you had at pretty much 11. Allen Robinson, so underrated. He beats a lot of players in a lot of categories when it comes to stats and as a wide receiver. Insane hands, as you see from that photo on the left of your screen. Great route runner for his size. I mean, he's probably the 2nd tallest on this list, behind Mike Evans, maybe 6'2", maybe even the same height as Mike Evans. I would have to research that. But yeah, great. He's also underrated after the catch. He has pretty good speed for his size as well. He's just a great player. He can go up and get the ball. If he just had a better quarterback. He's been struggling with quarterback play his whole career. In Jacksonville, he had Blake Bortles, and then he goes to Chicago, and he has Mitch Trubisky. So, poor guy. I think he's a free agent, obviously, and we'll see where he ends up. Hopefully, a team with a good quarterback because he deserves one.
At 7, I have Slant Boy himself, Michael Thomas of the New Orleans Saints. Although Michael Thomas had most definitely a down year, only 438 yards, 40 receptions for him. He had some injuries, had some suspensions, and he is a great receiver. He's had 4 great years of production in the NFL. Most in 2019 stuck out the most, having 1,700 yards for the Saints, which is he led the NFL in receptions and yards. So Michael Thomas, kind of similar to how the running backs were treated with Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley, on a down year, but still a top 10 receiver in the NFL and love him on the team. Only 27 years old, in the prime of his career, I would say right now. So next year is an extremely important year for him to stay on this list or fall off, and we'll see about that, who the QB will be for his team. But I have Michael Thomas at 7.
Yeah, number 6. I also have Slant Man, 21 Savage lookalike as well. And yeah, I mean, he didn't have a great year, but he was injured most of the year. Also, Drew Brees struggled this year. Couldn't really throw the ball past 3 yards. A lot of checkdowns to Alvin Kamara. So yeah, but he's number 6. I think he was a top 2 wide receiver last year with DeAndre Hopkins, and then kind of just fell down because of his play. And I mean, he gets way too much hate in the media though, and like on Twitter and Instagram, he gets clowned all the time. I feel bad for the guy. He does a little too much talking on Twitter, but that did not affect on how good of a player he is. No matter what route he runs the most, I don't care if he runs slants. Like, you can't deny the production. So
Right.
Michael
that 2019 year was amazing. Yeah,
incredible. So I mean,
still a top 10 receiver for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
At 6, I had Oliver. Had a 10, DK Metcalf of the Seattle Seahawks. And the main reason I had DK there is right now, if I'm starting a team, I don't think there's any other receiver I'd rather have, maybe one other who I have at 1 than DK Metcalf. I mean, we have never seen a specimen, a human being like him. He's able to run a 4.3, 4.4. When he's that large, when he has that much strength, upper body strength, he's that tall, and he's like a Superman. He is insane. And what he did against Buda Baker, there's not a human being that could do what he did. He is insane. And yes, he does have some of these games where he just kind of falls off the map. But then he has some of these games where he just has 14 receptions for 223 yards. And I think DK is only not a top 5 receiver yet. Next year, maybe a top 10 receiver for sure, though, in the league. I have him at number 6. And I would rather have him than Michael Thomas. That's why I have him over Michael Thomas. We'll see maybe next year that will change. Right now, I like DK Metcalf at 6. And what a year he's had, only 2 years into the league.
Yeah, fair enough. Number 5, I got Cheetah, Tyreek Hill. I mean, what stands out with this guy? Automatically, you think speed. I mean, his nickname is Cheetah, fastest guy in the league, maybe in the world. No, but like, he's insane. Yeah. He's need to work on his hands a little bit, but that's not what he's known for. Just get the ball in Tyreek's hands. He's gonna make some magic happen. He's Travis Kelce. I'm sorry, he's Patrick Mahomes' number 1 receiver target. So obviously he's a big part of this Chiefs offense. Yeah.
Right.
Insane player. Very underrated coming out of West Alabama, but you can't deny the speed. He's a nightmare to cover, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's amazing how far he's came as a 5th-round pick out of West Alabama. I mean, he's now a top 5 receiver in the league for sure.
For sure.
And at my 5, yes, I have Julio Jones of the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, wow, Julio Jones now in the NFL has been so productive every single season he's had. With all of his injuries this year, he fell a little bit. He's normally a top 3 receiver, but I did have Tyreek jumping him this year and Stefon Diggs jumping him. I don't want to spoil it too much, but just because, he is 32 years old now, he's a bit older than everyone else, but since 2011, he's been over 1K every single season of his career, except I believe this season where he had 771 yards and then one other season where he had an injury. So this year, with all the injuries, he fell, as I said, but Julio Jones is an amazing receiver, not going to fall too much like Michael Thomas just because it's production, still at 32 doing this. And the future is questionable for Julio. Is he going to be the same with Matt? Is it going to be Matt Ryan throwing to him, or is it going to be a rookie quarterback throwing to him? So we will see with Julio Jones, but I definitely have him as a top 5 receiver in NFL. And I think he will go down as the best route runner of all time. His routes are so crisp. He runs them so clean. He is an insane route runner. Davante Adams is there, but just runs it a bit differently. But Julio Jones, got to give the credit where he deserves. So many productive years for him. And I know Falcons fans are going to hate me putting him at 5, but he just fell a little bit after this down year.
Yeah, same thing. Number 4, Julio Jones. He's your favorite wide receiver's favorite wide receiver. He's loved by everyone in the NFL. He's obviously a tremendous player, been the staple of that Atlanta Falcons offense. I mean, he played with – I remember that offense with Roddy White and him. It was fun to watch. And, yeah, he wasn't even the best wide receiver on his team last year.
Right, Ridley.
Ridley was, but you can't really fault Julio. He didn't play that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I feel like probably like 3 years ago, he's the consensus number 1 kind of guy. And then now he finds his way at 4 for me and 5 for you. Still a great player nonetheless. I mean, it's Julio Jones. But yeah, I mean, if he has another outstanding year, he can move back up. But if he plays poor next year, I think he just finds himself falling each and every year. But
yeah, that Tyreek Julio is a great debate, though.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
And there I have it for Tyreek. And the reason I have Tyreek edging over Julio in the debate is just because production level. I mean, first of all, Tyreek is younger. Julio, as I said, is 32 years old. Tyreek is only 26, 6 years younger. And then the production level this year was better, of course. This year he had whopping 1,276 yards. And then we obviously saw that game, not the second game versus Tampa Bay, of course, but the first game versus Tampa Bay, one of the best receiving games we've ever seen, 70 fantasy points in some leagues. So Tyreek Hill, crazy receiver. He's so fast, fastest receiver in the NFL, no question. 5 years in, over 1,003 of them. And I like Tyreek right now. I think he just has a higher level of potential than Julio, but they're very equivalent in my opinion.
Yeah, there's 1A, 1B for me too as well. So number 3, I got Stefon Diggs. Coming this year, I don't think I would have him as a top 10. And he finds himself at 3 already. I mean, what a year for Stefon Diggs. Led the league in receiving yards. Has the most receiving yards as anyone, I think, in the last 3 years, which is kind of an insane stat because he's been underrated. He went to Maryland, I believe was a 4th, 5th round pick. Cannot remember. But, yeah, he played well in Minnesota, kind of had that breakout season with that one catch at the goal line where he leaped over. That's when I first heard of Stefon. Then he comes to Buffalo. And yeah, does the same thing, did not fall off at all, only gets better. Josh Allen brought the best out of Josh Allen, I would say. Without Stefon Diggs, I'm not sure if Josh Allen would have been an MVP candidate like he was. I think the second best route runner in the league, behind who I have at number 1. And then, yeah, Stefon Diggs, great hands as well. He just feels like he gets open every play and makes a play every single time he's on the field. So I have him at 3.
At 3, I have DeAndre Hopkins of the Arizona Cardinals. Yes, I think we do agree on everyone almost agrees on the best 3 receivers in the NFL, but it's what order they should be at. And at 3, I have DeAndre Hopkins. And the reason I have Hopkins at 3, worse than my top 2, is because although Hopkins was more productive than one of the 3 this year with 1,407 yards, but he only had 6 touchdowns. And I think the one strength DeAndre Hopkins has over these other 2 is his hands. DeAndre Hopkins has amazing hands. However, speed-wise and routes-wise, I don't know if he's quite there yet compared to them. I mean, he's most definitely slower. And I think if he's double covered, he is less productive. When he's double covered, he has these games where he kind of goes away and stays quiet. I mean, compared to them, my 1 and 2 that always seem to crack over 100 yards when they're playing no matter what. So that was the main reason I had Hopkins at 3. However, he's still an amazing receiver. I mean, best hands, I think, in the NFL, no question. One of the best hands I've ever seen probably in my life. That Hail Mary he had versus Buffalo was amazing this year. Like quadruple cover, just pulled it in, and he was productive. And Houston's going to be productive in Arizona. He should crack over 1,000 yards every year of his career if he does not have injuries.
Yeah. And 2, I have him. Just look at that picture right there. He just has his hands too. Yeah, his hands just have super glue in them. They're massive as well. He has to have like specially made gloves for him, I think. I mean, it's insane. So yeah, D-Hop, just ridiculous player. You're right. He's not the best route runner on this list, but he's not necessarily a bad route runner. He can get open, but his specialty is catching the ball over people, can make a play at any time. Like that Hail Mary against Buffalo. I mean, no one expected Arizona to win that game, But if you have DeAndre Hopkins, you have a chance because he can pull in almost any ball. Yeah, so I mean, I remember this catch right here. I don't think it counted, and he pinned it against his hamstring. But yeah, that's insane. So I'm at 2. I think I had him at 1 coming into this year, but
Yeah.
the emergence of number 1, like not emergence because he's always been good, but yeah, you can put him at 1. That's no problem with me. But yeah, it's kind of this top 3. You can just shuffle them around. But let's see who you have at number 2.
At 2, I got Stefon Diggs at the Buffalo Bills. I mean, just coming off the best season of his career by far, leading the league in receptions and receiving. 127 receptions for 1,535 yards, an insane season, and then 8 touchdowns, which is better than DeAndre Hopkins, as we just talked about. But what mainly excites me about Stefon Diggs is just how he's so explosive off the ball. I mean, he is so much faster than DeAndre Hopkins, not to be too mean to DeAndre, but he is much faster, he can catch, and then his yak is amazing. His yards after catch are insane. He is hard to tackle. He does not go down. He's not like a catch and then go down guy. In the seasons in the NFL, he's had 6 seasons in the NFL, 6,000 yards overall, meaning he's averaging over 1,000 yards a season. Extremely productive, 27 years old. And as I say with a lot of these guys, his future is brighter than DeAndre, only 27. And he has a young QB going with him. So Stefon Diggs, maybe expect him to even improve his insane career season from this year. Maybe even have more than 1,500 yards next year. It'd be number 1 on this list next year. So the future is bright for Stefon.
Yeah, and Stefon also caught the infamous Minneapolis Miracle when he was with Minnesota. Number 1, I got Palo Alto's own Davante Adams. Davante Adams is an insane player, man. I mean, second best route runner in the league, has probably second best hands. He's just all around the best receiver in the league to me. Like, he doesn't have a flaw. He's good speed, great hands, great route running, great after catch. He also has been paired with an elite quarterback, obviously, but you can't fault Davante Adams for that. He always been underrated out of college, went to Fresno State, got drafted, struggled in his first year in 2014, struggled with drops. And then with Randall Cobb and Jordy Nelson and all of them going out, he got his chance, and man, did he take advantage of it. So yeah, Davante Adams, I'd say, was a top 5 receiver for me coming into this year, finds his way at 1, and I think he stays here for a while because he's not that old. I think 28, 27 maybe. But yeah, so I think this is kind of football fans' consensus number 1, and I assume bearing some crazy circumstance, you also have a number 1. What you do?
Yep, at 1, 28 years old, Davante Adams. I mean, what mainly made me put him at 1 is just the improvement he has. 7 years into the NFL, and he's improved every single season, and that's what you want to see. I mean, Davante, though, this year was incredible. He was injured for a lot of the year, mind you, on that, and still had 1,374 yards. Only played about 12 games this season with that injury at the start of the year, and he still put up these insane stats. But the most important part is he had 18 touchdowns this year. 18. He had about double the touchdowns Stefon Diggs had. And although Stefon had more yards and DeAndre did too, he had 18 touchdowns. He was a touchdown machine for the Green Bay Packers team. And I just think he's more explosive. And when he's on the field, I think he always produces. There's the games where DeAndre Hopkins goes quiet, as we talked about. Stefon Diggs, touchdowns-wise, goes quiet sometimes too. Davante Adams always puts up the number on the field, and he's been more consistent than Stefon Diggs in his career. You said it, he was Randall Cobb and Jordy Nelson's backup. Jeff Janis was in front of him at one point in his career, and now Davante has shined. Only 20 years old, wide receiver 1, my opinion, your opinion, best receiver in the NFL from Palo Alto, California, our town. And it's pretty awesome to see a guy from our town do this, but we're not even – I mean, we are a little biased, but I truly think he is the best receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't think it's really biased because, I mean, a lot of people have number 1. Yeah, Jordan Middle School graduate, now known as Green. It's awesome to see that I roamed the same halls as him, as well as this high school I'm at, Palo Alto High School. So, yeah, Davante Adams is number 1 for both me and Casey. And,
first time we've agreed on one, too.
Yeah, the first one we've agreed on. We disagreed on quarterback and running back, so this is nice to see. And now we'll move on to a little NBA talk. So now we're moving on to the NBA. I got standings on your screen here. So let's start off with the Western Conference. Casey, any surprises?
I would definitely say that the Portland Trailblazers are my biggest surprise. I did not think they were going to be that good with Nurkic out, but I mean, 18 wins, 11 losses, not bad for them. Last year, they barely made the playoffs. Remember that they played Memphis in that one game to play the Lakers just to get swept by them. Or sorry, no, they did not get swept by them, but that was to play them to get swept. But the Trailblazers have surprised me a lot this year, and also the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, they're just kind of a lot of washed up veterans on that team. DeJounte Murray's one exception there. So the fact that they're 16-11 is all credit to Greg Popovich. He is such an amazing coach to be able to do that. And then some bad teams that have surprised me, I would definitely say, is the Mavericks. I mean, last year we watched them almost beat the Clippers. We saw the Mavericks have an amazing run in the playoffs under Doncic. And it's not like Doncic has been bad this year. He's still averaging 29.1 points a game. So it is interesting seeing them below the Warriors at 13-15 this year. Who surprises you the most in the Western order?
Yeah, so I want to say the Jazz because no one really expected the Jazz to be number one. I feel like they were projected more as a 4-5 seed. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, Donovan Mitchell's playing great. He's going to be an all-star. Rudy Gobert is obviously good, holding down that paint. Jordan Clarkson off the bench is going to win sixth man of the year, barring anything changes like injuries. Bojan Bogdanovic is also
Right.
outstanding. You got Derek Favors off that bench. Yeah, just a deep team that honestly I can see going far because they're proving me wrong. Like I just didn't think they had enough to keep this streak going. I mean, you look there, they're 9-1 the last 10. I think they're 19 of 20 in the last 20. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And then also I have to say the Pelicans. The Pelicans are a very disappointing team. They have a lot of young talent. Zion Williamson, obviously, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Eric Bledsoe, Steven Adams. Good team, but like on paper, but they're not playing well. And they find themselves at the 12th seed in a very deep Western Conference. And then looking at the East over here, I feel like the East is kind of what you thought it would be, except for a few exceptions. But what do you think about the Eastern Conference? How it's shaping up to look?
Yeah, it's definitely what we thought it would be, except for the Heat. I mean, the Heat, they made the NBA Finals last year, and they're an amazing young team. Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, whatever his name is, Adebayo, Kelly. But frankly, what they did Wednesday night against the Warriors was sickening to Heat fans. I mean, they blew a lead when there were 4 minutes left. Kelly Olynyk is washed. The fact that he's still in the NBA is beyond me. I have no idea how. But I mean, this Heat team should be better. The fact that they're 13-17 is really weird, and it may be time to say goodbye to their amazing coach there. I don't know about that though. It's hard for Heat fans. I don't know, but I would say the Knicks being in 8th is just shocking. I don't know if that would change. And then the Bulls, it's weird for me because the Bulls always seem to have maybe future, and they always just haven't been good since Derrick Rose almost made the finals for them.
Yeah, so like you said, Bam Adebayo, he's been good, but Jimmy Butler's missed a lot of time, and Jimmy Butler has not been really filling up the stat sheet, but he's kind of like a Draymond player. He has a lot of impact on winning. He just wants to win. The Wizards have started off awful. They're kind of catching up now. Westbrook's playing a little better. Beal's still playing great.
That's another team, like you expect them to be good, but it's just the Wizards. Like I root for the Wizards because they've been bad for so long.
Yeah, it's kind of like a culture thing. Like they just kind of curse. And
it's weird. It's like Bradley Beal can't win, even though he's so, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just because people think like he takes a lot of shots and he makes a lot of them, but he doesn't really help the team win. He's kind of an individual performer. The Hawks are a young team that I thought was going to be better, probably like a 7 seed, but they find themselves at 11, while the Hornets are up at seventh place. And the Raptors are at 6 after a very slow start. So yeah, but 76ers, maybe people didn't expect them to be number 1. It's not a big shock to me, but the Eastern Conference is definitely looking like how I thought it would look like. And I feel like we just want to end this NBA section with talking a little about the Warriors. We were both a fan of, and we just came off heartbreaking back-to-back losses against the
Hornets,
the Hornets. So what do you think about those games? I mean, it was pretty tough to watch as a Warriors fan.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we came off an amazing comeback for the Heat, and everything was looking well. But death taxes and the Warriors not being able to win 2 in a row. I mean, the Warriors just simply can't do it. That loss versus the Magic was pretty tough because they were so close. And then yesterday versus the Hornets, Draymond Green kind of screwed us there. That was frustrating. And it was 8 seed versus 8 seed. Now the Hornets kind of moved up to 7, as you see there, and it's frustrating, but I do think they will make the playoffs. The Warriors, this team's still a very good team. I think they will get the 8 seed. Look at Memphis right there. They're games behind the Warriors, so I think they should be fine. I think they will get the 8 seed, and maybe they can beat the Jazz in the playoffs. Something can happen, but Curry's still having a miraculous year. MVP in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. The Magic game, we blew a 13-point lead in the fourth quarter, and we blew a 10-point lead to the Hornets with 4 minutes 44 seconds left. Draymond just can't control his emotions, which really frustrates me. He gets a double technical. Terry Rozier hits both free throws, and obviously with the technical foul, you get possession of the ball. Hits an insane game winner. So tough as a Warriors fan. We now are 16-15. But yeah. So that concludes our NBA section.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. This is a great episode. Episode 4 here of CO Sports Talk, and we're excited for the future here with March Madness is coming up. Getting excited, great college basketball. We'll talk about that next episode. NBA and then MLB's coming up. And obviously the NFL draft is getting closer and closer every day. So we will see you guys next time. Thank you. Keep pounding that like button, subscribe button, comments, and we will see you guys next week.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you next week. We will keep posting every week. So see you.